Hey, what's up, everybody? I'll wait to get some people in here, but while I do that, I will try to get the word out to more people. But yeah, it is Thorsday, everybody. Happy Thorsday. In case many people don't know where Thursday comes from, that is actually where that comes from. So yeah. We're going to talk on a few things today. God, where do I begin on this? Yes. Critical support to Iran. My flag's still back there? Yeah, it is. It's tucked behind, let's keep the dumb fuckery to a minimum. Let's actually make you a little more prominent. Bring you right behind Marx. Okay. But yes. So there has been, there has definitely been some stuff I wanted to talk about. This one particular topic that I've been wanting to talk about, and let me kind of just make sure I got this out to enough people here. Yes, okay. So anyways, and one of the things I was going to do a standalone video of, but decided to just wait until the stream, because it ended up being like 28 minutes long, actually almost 30 minutes long. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, and I don't usually talk about sports that often on this channel because of the fact that this is largely more of a channel related to politics and commentary and stuff like that from a Marxist perspective. But I need to really talk about this and the fact that there is an ongoing issue with the Portland Trailblazers basketball team and the city, more specifically the owner, the cheapskate fucking owner, Tom Dundon, who is a billionaire from North Carolina. He bought the team back in March, and which was originally owned by the Allen family, from who are involved with Microsoft, and they actually gave a shit about the team to some extent, to the point where they actually invested in it. Tom Dundon does not want to invest in this team. In fact, it's almost becoming very obvious at this point that the man does not give a flying rat's ass about even keeping the team in Portland. He's just not arguing in good faith. The city, the state have already said that the money is not the issue, but we need plans, blueprints on what these renovations to what is officially called the Moda Center, but most locals here, we call it the Rose Garden Arena. There's a reason why, you want those plans in action, because, that requires permits, both city, county, state. You have a lot of different things in that regard. So, but the issue is that this man wants the city to basically, and essentially the state too, because the state's also said that they'll invest some of the money, but he wants them to do all the renovations. He doesn't want to invest a fucking dime. And normally, at least in some situations, even the owners invest at least 50% sometimes into, renovations or new arena. That's not what's happening here. And so there's talks about, just kind of like how it is with every owner that does this type of crap. They hold the threat of relocation over everybody's heads, and that's what's going on right now. You know, he's threatening to take them to like somewhere else, vaguely threatening to take them somewhere else. Obviously, the first cities that come to mind are Vegas and Seattle, because those are going to be the two cities more likely to get teams. The problem is that Seattle and Vegas want their own teams. The Seattle very clearly wants the Sonics back. They don't want the Blazers. They don't want it to be the Seattle Trailblazers. They want it to be the Seattle Supersonics. Vegas does not want some city's sloppy seconds either. There's been some talks about putting them in Utah, even though they already have one, putting them in Oklahoma City, which already has one, putting them in Raleigh, which is where Dundon, I believe, is from. Or not Raleigh, but Charlotte. Yeah, Raleigh. Except the problem is that Carolina also already has a basketball team. So you know, the only other options that you could do, you could maybe relocate them to that, you know, would be cities that could potentially host it is Vancouver, St. Louis, Kansas City. But I've actually talked to some people and some comments who have actually said that St. Louis, despite having the market, does not really have as much of the interest in basketball as like they do with like football, baseball, soccer, hockey. Kansas City could theoretically work, but I think we're getting away from the main crux here is the fact that this rich asshole from Carolina is threatening the city with relocation to get rid of their beloved Blazers basketball team. And as you can imagine, that has invoked quite a response from the public, especially from business owners in this city, because like a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels rely on not only just the tourism alone that comes into Oregon because of, you know, the Oregon Trail and, you know, different things like that, but also because of the fact, hello, Rayman, but also because of the fact that basketball, sports in general, usually is a driving thing behind, you know, a lot of cities, a lot of their economies, especially during those seasons. And if the Blazers end up moving out of Portland, that is going to already put a big strain on already struggling businesses and an already struggling economy. And like you're already seeing a lot of bars going out of business, a lot of restaurants, places that have been here for near to, or if not over 100 years, going out of business because they just can't stay afloat in this economy. And granted, COVID really kind of put a strain on a lot of that, but then, you know, you throw into a lot of things, politics and just general, you know, market depreciation. That's kind of what's happening. And removing the sports team would only further that. In addition to that, if you lose the Blazers out of Portland, say goodbye to any of those talks about an MLB team coming here. The MLS, though I doubt that they'll move the Timbers, would still kind of look at Portland and its market and being like, they can't even keep a basketball team there. Why should we keep our team here? And it becomes a cascading effect. And it all just comes back to this asshole named Tom Dundon, who is just does not want to spend a dime on this city. Does not even seem like he wants to keep the team in the city because he's kind of got that very typical rich white man mindset. And let's also not forget he's from Carolina, and I'm pretty sure he's a Republican. You know, he's got that fucking mentality that Portland is just this crime-riddled hellhole, even though it's quite literally not. In fact, crime is down in this city and just across the board in America. Statistically, that's an actual fucking fact. And while we do have our problems, you know, a lot of those problems are caused by capitalism. There's actually a slight situation I'm going to talk about in just a second about that, actually. But it is just, it's a cascading effect. If you end up, give me a quick second. Sorry, my rabbit was being a little naughty and he was tearing at my fucking carpet. But being a little asshole. Comment below if you think my rabbit's being a fascist. He just doesn't want me talking on these subjects. Anyway, yeah, it all comes back to this one asshole who just does not want to invest in this city, who is seemingly doing everything in his power to just remove this team from the city because he wants them closer to him. And this is just the problem with being a sports fan under capitalism, is that you are constantly having to deal with that thought in the back of your mind that, you're going to lose your team one day. Now, I come from Northern California originally, specifically from the Bay Area, and I'm used to a lot of the things that, a lot of the issues in the East Bay specifically. So I come from a region that is already known for losing its sports teams, all of its sports teams. Well, unless with the exception, I guess, of the USL, but, the United Soccer League. But anyway, but the point is, Oakland lost its basketball team, sort of. They went to San Francisco, but they've lost their football team. Yeah, well, he definitely, yeah. In fact, I'm going to try to just kind of shoo him out of here. Go on. One. All right. God, he really is just being a little asshole today. But anyway, what I'm trying to get out here, my rabbit will fucking let me, is that this guy is just doing everything in his power to try to get rid of this team. And it's just, I come from a region, from the Bay Area, and like I've already seen Oakland lose the Warriors, lose the Raiders, lose the A's. And I don't want Portland to become one of those cities. I really don't. And granted, I do see the people fighting like hell. I see the politicians fighting like hell. But here's the other thing. Portland has an advantage that Oakland doesn't. And even then, it's questionable if that'll even help. But Portland not only is, the home of the Blazers, the Timbers, it's not just home to Portland sports. It is the home of Oregon sports in general. So, of course, you've got the backing of the state. You've got the backing of the governor, for fuck's sake. Because they understand what that means for the economy, for jobs, etc. And if you lose that team, you're going to lose those jobs, and your economy is going to suffer because of it. So That's something that that Portland has as an advantage. You have the backing of the state who can help you with finances. Oakland didn't have that luxury because it is a very poverty-ridden city. Again, the ills of capitalism. But it is a city that has a lot of people living below the poverty line. And it's just a city that just does not, in general, have a lot of money. At the same time, it's not a city that's going to be bailed out by. It's not going to be a city that's going to be bailed out by the state, because why would they? The state's got, teams in other places. They've got a basketball team in Sacramento. They've got, baseball and football. Well, maybe not football officially, technically, because that's in Santa Clara, but it's still part of the San Francisco city. But baseball's in San Francisco. They've got hockey in San Jose. You've got baseball and football both in Los Angeles. Hockey and basketball in Los Angeles. So yeah, why would they give a fuck about one city losing, their baseball and football teams and technically their basketball team? They don't. They don't give a shit. Portland has the advantage of at least having, of being the only major city, unless you want to argue Eugene, of having a professional sports team. Like, that's why it is not just the team is not just Portland's team, it is Oregon's team. Now, let's just say they resolve this issue eventually. Okay, threat of relocation over, the team stays. That $480 million initially for the renovations is probably now well over $500 million. I'm going to use a conservative estimate. I know how this shit works. I've been watching this shit for years. That is literally half, if not a third at least, for what it costs to build an arena nowadays, because most likely they're going to probably want to build like some sort of entertainment district around it, which is going to kind of be hard given how limited the space is in the Rose Quarter, but whatever. That they're probably going to do that one day. The problem is we invest that $500 million now for renovations, might give the team 10 more years, 20 more years, maybe. What's going to happen though when we need when they start knocking on the door for a new arena altogether? So those talks will just end up coming right back up, years down the line. Now assuming that Tom Dundon is still the fucking owner at that point, then yeah, we're going to have to go through this whole merry-go-round bullshit all over again. Now, there is a chance that obviously he isn't, and we have an owner that's a lot better, but this is also an argument of why you need to have public ownership of your teams and not one fucking asshole running the show, or a small cabal of assholes running the whole show. This is the problem with being a sports fan and just having sports under capitalism, because literally your team, amongst the obvious other reasons of sports under capitalism, your team is always under threat of being moved. It happened in Arizona with the fucking Coyotes. Although technically they're they're frozen, they're inactive technically, but they moved. But their team members were essentially sold off, and they pretty much moved to Utah. So, they could come back, be reactivated, if you will, but they will not be the same, Phoenix Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes, whatever. You aren't going to see that, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So it's just being a sports, it's so hard being a sports fan, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I don't talk about it, because I'm just myself not as active in as a sports fan as I used to, because of just how shitty things are, how these owners, these skinflint fucking owners, run everything. It sucks, and it makes watching the sports a lot less fun. I used to go to games. I went to a few games as a kid. Baseball. Specifically, I went to my first basketball game about 3 years ago. It was great. And whether your team sucks or not is irrelevant. But the way that these owners, and just kind of the nature of these kind of the shady shit that these leagues are getting away with, makes it kind of, it just kind of it just kind of makes it. I like that. Thank you, Logan. Welcome. It just makes watching the sports a lot less fun. I really cannot stress that enough. I kind of quit watching. Like, I still consider myself a football, baseball, basketball fan, but I just do not watch it anymore, just because of how corrupt the league is, how shitty the fucking owners are a lot of the time. And like, while my teams personally, I know, are secure in the city that they are, which is San Francisco, because I'm a San Francisco sports fan. Again, grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up San Francisco sports fan, but had a love and sympathy for, Oakland. It's one of those things where it's like, I know that my teams are secure, but it's also sad that Oakland has lost theirs, and I do not want to witness the city that I now live in and call home to end up losing theirs. I really don't. Because if they do, it's a cascading effect, and nobody will want to fucking come here. And all because of this stupid thing, that the stupid mindset that a lot of these rich white fucking assholes have, that Portland is this crime-riddled hellhole and we have to pull them out of there. Or it's like, or it's like, oh, look, they don't, they don't, have the money, even though we literally have the money. Or it's like, oh, they don't, it's like they're too hung up on this thing and that thing. You mean permits and safety regulations, and also the fact that, let's be real, this is Portland, and Oregon is a very pro-union state. So yeah, you're going to have to fucking pay union workers. That's the other crux there, is that along with all their plans for renovation, Dundon would rather not hire anybody that's a union worker. That's kind of another thing. I mean, I think goes as a general broad overview of capitalists, but he himself does not want to. And like, you're in our neighborhood. You're going to have to play by our rules. And because he doesn't want to, So I don't know what the situation is going to be. I know the city council is really fighting hard. I know the state, the governor is really fighting hard to keep the Blazers here. But if we lose the fucking Blazers, I don't know what to say. It's gonna really hurt this city a lot more than people realize. But people like Tom Dundon don't give a shit. So, but yeah, one of the things that I was also going to cover here, I didn't even put it in my notes either. How stupid of me. but I wanted to play this for you guys. Some of you may have already seen it already. Um, but one of the things that I already had mentioned was how there's that a lot of people see, you know, Portland is just this, crime riddled hellhole, and that it's got all the homeless and stuff like that. Well, the KGW, our local news station, recently just put out a news report the other day that just shows how absolutely just fundamentally fucking evil that these treatment centers can be. Now, granted, this treatment center is in St. Helens, which is about 20 miles northwest of the main of downtown Portland. But let me just, that ain't it. But basically, this is from what I've actually been looking into. There's people that are coming from like Montana, and I think somebody said Alabama or somewhere, where basically these treatment centers are sending people out here to Portland. Oops. Yeah, they're sending people out here to Portland, and they're just kind of dumping them off onto the streets, pretty much. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that just so that you guys. No, it's not hospitals specifically. It's treatment centers. They've been dumping people off on the streets, and more specifically, indigenous people. And that's something that needs to be said here, is the fact that treatment centers are sending indigenous people from like North Dakota, or just from the Midwest in general, Montana, Alabama, all kinds of parts of the United States. And I'm sure this is happening in other places in the world too, specifically even but it's specific to Canada and the United States, I'm sure, where they are sending people to these cities and then just leaving them to their own devices. There has been such a fucking increase in indigenous homeless people in the city of Portland, and a lot of it comes down to these treatment centers who are like, well, if you don't commit to this program for like the full, like in this case, like a year, then we're not giving you your ticket home. We're going to give you a bus ticket to downtown Portland, and then you can figure it out on your own. Well, here's the problem. What are those people supposed to do? They don't have any, many of them don't have the money, the resources to fly back home, to bus back home. So they're left to their own devices, homeless on the fucking street. And that's what this news article was about. So I'm going to go ahead and share that, and I'm going to go pop off for a minute.
A bus stop on Sabi Island.
How do I use this? What do I do? Where do I go? Where am I going with it?
Was Geraldine Grassrope's last stop before she was sent off to the streets of Portland.
I'm just being put out there where I didn't know nobody. It's like I wasn't given a chance.
For years, an Oregon addiction treatment center called Medicine Wheel took in Native Americans from around the country seeking help.
It paints a pretty disturbing picture.
If they didn't finish a year-long program, Medicine Wheel refused to help them get back home.
Portland was being used as a dumping ground.
How did this happen?
It's an alarming number of natives that need care.
And how was it hidden for so many years?
It's like they were used to that. They've done it many times for something for them to treat me like that, like it was nothing.
Jackson Paul worked for Portland Solutions, a city program tackling homelessness. He analyzed data from the city's reunification program, an effort to reconnect homeless people with their families and hometowns. Seattle topped the list as the place where most people came from.
And then tied for second place jumps out as Bismarck, North Dakota.
And that was stunning to you.
Absolutely unexpected, to say the least.
Emails, notes, and other public records show Paul's quest for answers. He contacted other city leaders. No one knew why so many people from North Dakota and South Dakota were ending up on Portland's streets. Paul's search eventually led him to Medicine Wheel Recovery Services, a treatment center in St. Helens, Oregon, about 40 minutes north of Portland. Medicine Wheel offers a year-long addiction and mental health treatment program for Indigenous people, often flying them in from the Midwest and the Great Plains Tribal Network. But when patients left the program early, they didn't go back to the Midwest. They were given a bus ticket to Portland, where many ended up homeless.
This was what they shared with me. Your ticket home was contingent upon you completing the program. And they said they didn't have the funds in order to send everybody home who was leaving the program for any number of reasons. I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned.
2 months earlier, Geraldine Grassrope was one of those people. She's a grandmother from a tribal community in rural South Dakota. Last year, she decided she needed help, a way out from a family environment of alcohol and drug use.
I couldn't do it anymore, so I chose to leave.
She found Medicine Wheel, liking that it was designed for Indigenous people like her. Geraldine says the nonprofit paid to fly her out to Oregon for treatment. But shortly after arriving, something felt off.
And I said, this wasn't right for me. I said, I didn't feel right. I didn't feel like the treatment placing was right for me.
Geraldine says she told staff members. About a week or so later, they drove her to a bus stop and gave her a ticket.
He said, this is where it ends for us. He said, we can't help you anymore. And I wish you good luck. He shook my hand, gave me that bus pass and said, the bus will pull up over there. They jumped in a car and left me.
Geraldine was 1,400 miles away from home.
I used to think I felt hopeless, but I said, this time around, I actually felt hopeless and helpless.
Unsure where to go, she didn't know anyone.
I was mad. I was scared. Nobody. I've never been in a city like that.
Geraldine eventually found her way to a Multnomah County Resource Center and then to Cielo Treatment Center, where she started a new program.
I didn't know what to do because I said there was a reason why I came out here was to get alcohol treatment. And I said, I don't want to go home not being able to finish that, you know?
Now she's back home in South Dakota.
I'm going on 10 months clean and sober.
Amazed that she ever left a treatment center homeless.
I wish I had known that before I had went out there, that they didn't offer that if it didn't work out for me, you know?
When Paul uncovered Medicine Wheel's one-way bus ticket system, his first response was to offer help.
Let's make sure that when someone gets to Portland, that they're connected, and their response is fantastic. This is great because we are going to continue doing this.
Then he told Mayor Keith Wilson.
We found this one organization was dumping 1 to 5 people a month for the last 7 years. That is absolutely heart-wrenching.
Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. My partner, I'm going to pause it here because I wanted to do a little commentary here. My partner and I watched that through the first time. And even my partner was absolutely shocked and appalled by that number. That's 1.5, people. Yeah. What was it?
Last 7 years was dumping 1 to 5 people a month.
Yeah, 1 to 5 people a month. Now that might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but keep in mind 1 to 5 people, that means you're dumping 12 to up to even 60 people. And let's make a more conservative number. That's probably easily 30, 40 people a month or a year, that are being dumped homeless. And most of them are Indigenous. Now, keep in mind, I want you to just keep in mind something here, because I've got a slight point to make, and it's because this is rather personal to me. St. Helens, Oregon, is in a area that is known to be more conservative leaning. They're more Republican leaning. So while they say this is a treatment center for indigenous people, well, and it is, it's a treatment center for indigenous people. They're not there to actually give them the treatment that they need. And people like this woman here understood that. She realized it wasn't the treatment center for her. Because, yeah, they probably weren't providing her the needs that she needed to better her life. So she's punished for it. She's left to her own devices, homeless. And what do homeless people, and if you're already suffering from addiction, what's one of the things that homelessness is going to do? It's going to make things worse. You're going to look to those coping mechanisms. So it's a cycle to get you back in there, because just getting them the treatment and making sure that they are well isn't profitable. And the reason I'm so fucking pissed off about this is the type of shit that my mom got fired for at Granite Wellness in Placer County, California. Because my mom actually is a former addict. She actually cares about people. She wants them to see them get well. I did a video on this. I did videos on this before my old channel got nuked. Well, long before my channel got nuked. But I did videos on there about that. Mama Red Pagan is a humanitarian. She really is. My mom is a wonderful fucking woman who understands people in this situation better than anybody else. And she goes out of her way to try to make sure people got the treatment that they need. But because that wasn't profitable for the treatment center, they made up excuses and got her fired. My mother also, keep in mind, this place that she works for is in a very conservative neck of California. It leans more Republican. I think 50, it was like high 50s, low 60s. I know it basically voted in the majority for Trump. Both, all three elections. So, yeah, they live in a conservative county, just like how this town, St. Helens, is a conservative town. And the treatment centers there, they don't actually give a fuck about getting people the treatment that they need, because that's not profitable. So they create this system where it's a revolving door, and it's absolutely fucking sickening. And the fact that they are doing this to indigenous people, and let me also make another comparison. The area that my mom is from has a prominent Tuolumne, Miwok and Maidu indigenous population. Portland, the area around Portland, has the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, which are descendants of the Multnomah. There are a lot of Chinook, a lot of Wasco, a lot of Paiute, and then you've got these people coming in from like Montana, Idaho, the Midwest. So you're getting a lot of Nez Perce, a lot of Dakota and Lakota, probably some Cheyenne. You're getting vulnerable people who already are suffering from an illness that they are actively seeking treatment for. And you go and do this bullshit. I have to take a breath, because if I don't, I'm going to get very angry and I will break YouTube's terms of service. I guarantee it. Because there is a lot I could say unfiltered, but if I do, this channel won't exist anymore. So yeah. As the video, we're going to finish the video, but you will notice that the state of Oregon has stepped in. OHA, Oregon Health Authority, has stepped in. They are still actively investigating, but in my personal opinion, they are not doing enough. And even if they do something about it, what's not to say they don't start just dumping people off in other parts of the Portland metro or other parts of the state or the region. Instead of downtown Portland, maybe they'll go dump them off in Gresham. Maybe they'll dump them off in the Dalles or Salem or fucking Vancouver. Which, by the way, is Vancouver, Washington, not British Columbia. We have two Vancouvers in the Pacific Northwest. I know it's confusing, but I don't think that the state, I think that the state is trying to do good to some extent. I just don't think that they're doing enough. And of course, I can go off on a tangent about liberals, but that is the biggest problem that I think I have, is that not enough is being done. They're still investigating these people, and this has been going on for years, and this investigation specifically has been going on for the better part of this year.
For the last 7 years. That is absolutely heart-wrenching.
Medicine Wheel reportedly shared that number, 1 to 5 people a month, with Portland. Paul referenced it in an email back to one of the nonprofit's leaders. If it's accurate, that means the organization discharged up to 420 indigenous people to Portland streets since 2018.
For years, there were more Native American homeless people in Portland than you would expect to see.
Without question.
And you didn't know why.
No, absolutely not.
Local governments collect data on the Portland area's homeless population every year. In 2022, the point-in-time count reported indigenous people made up 12.9% of the homeless population, despite making up only 2.5% of Multnomah County's population. In 2025, researchers said Native American homelessness had more than doubled in 2 years, citing a 118% increase, the largest of any racial group. Portland leaders, realizing the potential scope of Medicine Wheel's discharge practices, sent the...
Just take into consider that 118% increase. If you ever need a perfect example of how the genocide against Native Americans is still going on, because you know how there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be out there being just kind of like, oh, well, that's all behind us. That was America's past. No, it is still going on to this day. This is undeniable proof that genocide against indigenous people still is going on. That the fucking mistreatment of indigenous people is still going on. But instead of, because you can't just kill them with diabetes, with the processed fucking crap that we produce in this country, the mass-produced fucking slop that we produce, that we get these people addicted to. Because you can't kill them off fast enough with that. you're just going to return them to their same other addictive habits. You're going to continuously try to make sure they are in a cycle of illness and addiction. It's no longer enough that they've pushed people on to reservations, stolen their fucking land from them, but now you are forcing them off of their fucking lands because they have an illness, a literal disease. That's what addiction is. And forcing them onto the fucking street now. Like, it gets to a point where that meme of that meme of, do you ever think that we're the baddies? I want white people in this country to really understand how fundamentally evil not only this country is, but how them as white people, their fellow white people, how fundamentally fucking evil they are. I don't think white people suffer enough. I don't think white Americans suffer enough. I think white Americans should get a taste of their own medicine. Get them fucking addicted to things like fucking crack or fucking methamphetamine. Or, plenty of white people are already at fucking abusive alcoholics. All right. Tell you what, you go to a treatment facility, and as soon as you don't fucking you don't fucking stick true to it, oh, okay, pop your ass onto the street. And I mean, they already kind of do that anyway. This country is fundamentally hates poor people. But look, take like your typical suburban wine mom. Put her in rehab. She doesn't complete it. Oh, sorry. You're not going back to your kids anymore. You're going to be homeless on the street. How about you take people like fucking Nancy Pelosi's fucking Paul Pelosi? Do that to him. How about you do that to any of the fucking rich white bitches? Terms of service. I have to abide by them. Take any of them, apply these concepts to them, and if they don't want to fucking complete their program, okay, too bad. Go grab a tent. See how they fucking like it. They would not last 5 minutes on the streets of Portland or any fucking city. In fact, not even Portland. Have them on the streets of Oakland. Streets of fucking New York. LA, have them go out there, have them fundamentally fucking, have them just get a taste of their own medicine, just a wee taste. They ain't going to like it. I guarantee you they won't. But you know what? No, because these are poor people. They're brown people. What do these people care? They're just another statistic to them. Yeah. They still don't want to confront the sins of their past. And they don't because they don't give a shit. They just fundamentally don't give a shit. This is why me and Dark Synovia fucking say white people, specifically white Americans, we'll just say that, white Americans, or we just say Americans in general, I repeat myself, they don't suffer enough, and they really should. I'm just so fucking sick of this shit. Yeah, let's not forget to stop fucking stupid how fucking stupid the ancestors of white people were first settlers were starving. Yeah. It's another idea. Why don't we just take all the food out of the mouths of all the fucking white people and let them fucking figure it out themselves? Guarantee. I mean, fuck. They hate immigrants so much, even though, like, literally for most of them, this was their for a lot of their ancestors, this was already their land anyway. Yeah, they want to talk about that, but white people don't want to go out and pick the fucking fruits and veggies. I guarantee you, all these fucking assholes that bitch to you about immigrants and all that sort of stuff, the people that literally like pick and process their fucking food, fine. You want them gone? Have fun dealing with your own fucking food. I guarantee you, white people would starve to death overnight. There would be a coal of white people that would not make it. And I mean, I'm saying that myself as a fat bitch, okay? White people just simply would not be able to cut it. Sure, there might be a few people that have some, hunting and fishing skills to sustain themselves and their families, maybe. Might be a few of them. But most white people, let's be honest, they don't fucking know what the fuck to do. Anyway, let's finish this up. We only got like 3 more minutes.
The organization a cease and desist letter on January 9th.
Brought to Portland without any resources to get back home. That behavior, that practice was cruel and it was costing lives. So we had to act, and we had to act fast.
Paul says that legal threat caused Medicine Wheel to quickly change its tune.
The response within a couple of days was, absolutely, we won't be doing that anymore. And surprise, we actually were able to find some new grant funding. So we're going to set some stuff aside and make sure that we're not exiting folks to the street anymore.
Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Wink, wink. Yeah, again, I'll believe that when I see it. Who's not to say, even after all this, that they're probably already doing it. They just probably, instead of Portland, downtown Portland, probably dumping them off somewhere else in the city or the metro or the state. Just sending them off over the river to Vancouver, down to Salem, Eugene, to Bend, to the Dalles, or to other parts of the metro like Gresham or Beaverton or something, making it their fucking problem.
Medicine Wheel declined to comment on this story. We left multiple messages and showed up at their office in St. Helens, where a staff member turned us away. Public record.
Yeah, the fact that they don't want to even comment on this already shows how sus they're being about this. Like, these people do not fundamentally give a fuck.
Records show Paul and a Medicine Wheel supervisor emailed about their calls. The supervisor wrote she told staffers that discharging to Portland isn't a free ride or easy exit. Medicine Wheel is funded by taxpayer money. The Oregon Health Authority reports Medicine Wheel recently received a 1.6.
Yeah, taxpayer money. My fucking taxpayer money that I pay to this goddamn state, that I pay to this goddamn city.
$6 million grant as part of the state's behavioral health resource network. So when Paul told the state what he found, the health authority started investigating. In February, a state licensing manager emailed him back, saying Medicine Wheel told OHA that it changed its policy 6 months ago, so they no longer discharge to homelessness in Portland. That means Medicine Wheel claimed it stopped providing bus tickets to Portland 2 months before Geraldine says she was stranded on Sauvie Island with a bus ticket in hand.
Which means that one of two things are true here, because in this case, two things cannot be true at the same time. And it's basically one of these people is lying, and I highly doubt it's the indigenous woman. So who does that leave that's actually probably lying about this? Fucking medicine wheel. And like, I'm not gonna say to my audience watching that you should harass or bombard this place by any means. I'm also not saying that. These people are fundamentally fucked and evil and just, yeah. But for the sake of everything to potentially cover my ass, I'm not saying to bombard or harass these people. I'm also not saying that.
The Oregon Health Authority says it is still actively investigating Medicine Wheel. Medicine Wheel gave OHA a list of people who were discharged with a bus ticket to Portland. The agency says it's working to verify that list. Portland leaders don't know how many Native Americans from Midwest tribes have ended up homeless in Portland because of Medicine Wheel.
They could be home, they could be stable, they could also be dead.
Jared Murray leads Painted Horse Recovery, a treatment center for Native Americans.
I definitely think that the number has risen, and there is more natives, and it is disproportionate.
Murray says his outreach workers see an alarming need for recovery housing.
When people have a sober recovery environment, they thrive.
City leaders say they're looking for other trends.
I can say definitively we would not know that this was happening without the reunification program and the data that we collected there.
Portland's no longer that destination if you've been using and abusing our system.
Geraldine, now holding her granddaughter, remembers an Oregon that was far from welcoming.
Traditionally, Native people in our culture, the Lakota culture, you don't do that. We help each other, regardless.
It's not just Lakota culture. That's indigenous culture in general. They help each other. I think that's largely most marginalized communities. Black community, I know that they lift each other up. You know, the trans community, we stand by each other most of the time. I mean, I'd say that for the queer and trans community, it's a lot more complicated, but still, the point that I'm trying to make, just, yeah. And the shitty part is that Oregon overall, at least the city, Portland especially, is a pretty accepting and welcoming community. But the problem is, it really does have some of its outliers because again, this is St. Helens. So St. Helens is its own town, and it's technically in another county. But yeah, they are sending these people 20 miles up the road to downtown Portland and just dumping them off, making it Portland's problem, essentially. And now making it the state's problem because the state's now having to step in. But again, the state's not doing enough. I don't think they will do enough because what's going to happen once all this investigation is concluded? What's not to say these people aren't already dumping people off in other places? These people are fundamentally evil. They're not going to stop just because they're, being dragged through the mud on the news. Just because, the state's investigating them. Okay, maybe they lose their funding. Maybe they suspend their certain licenses, or they shut them down. Or, maybe they do shut them down. Okay, cool. But what happens to the people that are already still there? And to the people that have already been victimized and are still on the fucking street? Are they going to get their ride home? Probably not. So, yeah, just the state is not doing enough. I don't think they will do enough. I don't think the city and the city of Portland and the county of Multnomah are doing enough or will do enough. to make this right. And I reiterate, this isn't just affecting this woman, the Lakota. Like, they are a lot of people that are coming from North Dakota, from Bismarck, where there is a lot of Lakota people. But there has been reports from, and I'm going to just see if I can't find it on r/Portland, because I literally just saw it today. Let's see. I'm just going to sort by new. Oh, hey. I hate the fucking advertisements and shit. Or little pop-up things. I'm just going to see if I can't try to find it. Because, yeah, somebody was saying, oh, nope, that isn't it. Never mind. Okay, I'm just going to maybe Google it if I can find it in here. Or not Google it, but let's see. All right, well, I can't find it at the moment, but what I was going to say is that there was people in r/Portland that were talking about the fact that there are people that are coming from, like, I think it was like Alabama and Montana, Idaho. So, like, there are people being shipped all across the fucking country to this, to not just this place, but to a lot of these centers. Because let's be real, this isn't the only recovery center, and certainly not the only recovery center, dedicated to, helping indigenous people. There's plenty of those, and a lot of those in the probably the Pacific Northwest or the West Coast, or even the Southwest for that matter, who claim that they're there to help indigenous people. But then you look a little bit deeper, especially into some of the communities that they're in, like the fact that that St. Helens is more conservative. In fact, not just more conservative, they are conservative. They fucking voted for Trump. I know, like, you start looking at these communities and you start realizing that the people that run these facilities don't actually give a flying fuck. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just they see addicts in general, but they see people like the indigenous. They just see dollar signs. They see a revolving door that they can exploit again and again and again. As if these people haven't already been fucking exploited, raped, had their fucking land stolen from them. And yet the genocide just keeps marching on. And again, the reason why it is so personal to me is because of the fact that my mom worked at a facility like this in California. Granite Wellness is no different than Medicine Wheel. The only difference between the two is that Granite Wellness wasn't specific to treatment for indigenous people, but it did the same fucking bullshit, where it saw addicts as just a revolving door, something they could exploit. Many of these people have surprisingly stayed clean, but a lot of them are homeless because they haven't been, or they left treatment programs early, but they did get clean, but they just were left to their own devices. And when my mom tried to help these people, she was punished for it with being terminated, being left to be home, essentially homeless herself. I mean, she lives with my grandmother and my sister, obviously. But the point is, my mom was left, she was left homeless, basically. She was left without a job. It's not something that my mom is unfamiliar with. My mom has been lumping most of her life. It's just she's had blips where she's actually been able to have a job. But it's when I say that I've lived in that and I understand lumping people, it's not just because I have friends and comrades that are lumping. It's not that just because I understand class struggle and I understand struggle of the lumpen struggle itself. It's not just because I talk to lumpen people. It's because I have lived it in different portions of my life. And because for most of my life, my mom has been lumpen. Indigenous people are probably the most lumpen of our society. They are the most exploited, the most harassed, the most trafficked, the most murdered. They are the people that have suffered under the boot of white supremacy for centuries. And that's not to take away from the struggle of black people who have also struggled and been subjected to some of the most heinous acts of atrocity in human history. In fact, in a lot of cases, black and indigenous people have suffered hand in hand. But indigenous people still to this day are seeing their people genocided by this fucking country. And when people like my mom, who also actually get it. I mean, my mom may not subscribe to the same politics that I do, but my mom gets it. In fact, in a lot of ways, while I have learned a lot from black friends, black comrades, indigenous comrades, even cis white male comrades, you ever really wonder why I am who I am? Part of that's because of my mother. It's not just because I look like her. It's not just because, we have the same personality. But my mom and I do fundamentally think very similarly. We both have good hearts. We're humanitarians. And that's what people really hate the most about us. Because we will go out of the way to ensure that other people suffer a little bit less. That's that's why this is personal to me. Because my mom actually cares about indigenous people. My mom cares about black people. my mom would, like me, will throw her own people, white people, under the bus, as she should, to make sure that black people, indigenous people, poor people are lifted up even just a little bit, are helped in whatever way that they can. And because of that, she's punished for it. Hell, even I've technically been punished for certain shit, technically. You know. So, yeah, it's just, that's why this is personal to me. To those of you like Submonkey who are indigenous, who are watching this, like, it's even more personal for you. And it should be. Stories like this should fucking make you sick. Should make you angry. And if you're a white person watching this and you can listen to that and not feel saddened, angered, then you're not suffering enough. In fact, even if you are, I don't think that a lot of white people are angry or suffering enough. Until I actually see people taking up Mao's philosophy of political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Let's just put it that way. Until I see that from white people, I kind of don't give a shit. You are sitting by and letting genocides like this happen. You are sitting by and letting genocides in other countries happen. You are sitting by while the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, while PDF files essentially run not only this government, but run the world. You're sitting by and letting it fucking happen. So until you're willing to actually stand up and do something about it, I don't trust white people. And that's coming from a person who is pasty-faced. I don't. And neither should any of us. Unless white people actually mean what the fuck they say, start actually actively doing something to change this system, and of course, people watching this know exactly what I mean by that. Unless you're willing to do that, I don't want to fucking hear shit. I really don't. I'm so fucking sick and tired of this. Anyways, so with that all out of the way, let me move on to something else kind of similar importance. I don't have the article for it, but I could probably dig through it in a couple of things there. But about a week ago, Trump ended up signing an executive order that on birthright citizenship, that basically all the language that was in it was the exact same shit that the Supreme Court fucking ruled against. Yes. White people need to denounce being white, otherwise it's just reaction. But yeah, Trump signed an executive order about a week ago on birthright citizenship. Now, this whole thing has already been ruled on by the Supreme Court. Every little bit of language that's in it is all shit that has already been ruled on, where the Supreme Court says you can't do that. And Yet this man, whether it's senility or he just doesn't fucking give a shit and is just trying to put, really push the envelope because he knows that this is going to get tied up in the courts again. All that's really irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that he's still trying to push through birthright citizenship. And yeah, what Dark Zenobia said, if they abolish birthright citizenship, this is just going to cause further problems in America. And it's not just indigenous and black people. Hang on. I gotta get that comment there. Can we stop saying Stephen Miller, because Trump is not making any of these? Yeah, probably not. Stephen Miller is trying to. Yeah, Stephen Miller is doing what Steve Bannon couldn't do. He's doing like Steve Bannon. Like, does anybody remember him from way back in Trump's first term? Like, yeah, he's basically doing what Steve Bannon failed at. Yeah, if they were to strike down birthright citizenship, it would be the end of the republic. Yeah, but here's the thing. You go after birthright citizenship, and like, not to be one of those people that, fucking thumps on the Constitution or anything like that, but like literally that's kind of what their ruling was based off of, was the 14th Amendment, to some degree. If you strike down birthright citizenship, yeah, the first people that are going to be affected by this are going to be black people and indigenous people, and let's be honest, trans people. Because ultimately what this whole debate is about is going after people they don't deem as American. And more broadly, like, this is also to target people that are against Trump themselves, which goes from everybody from your anarchists and your communists right on up to your former MAGA, So, yeah. I'm only going to leave this up here due to the fact that, yeah, this is pretty, like, yeah. Because they're all products of Christian nationalism. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, birthright citizenship would target black people, indigenous people, and trans people, because just in general, everybody from your generic, like, anarchists and communists right on up to your former MAGA, who just happen to disagree with a few things Trump has said. Kristi Noem could technically fall into that at this point. But the point is, they are picking and choosing who is American, or at least that's what Trump is trying to do. Or that is what Steve Miller, at least, is trying to do. Because not that Trump probably isn't, but Trump at this point, let's be honest, he's too fucking stupid and senile and just incompetent. But like, at this point, Stephen Miller is just whispering in his ear. But that being said, this is going to disproportionately affect a lot of people that are already marginalized, because they want to go after indigenous people who they don't see as American, who they already have for the longest time not seen as American. They want to go after trans people who they want to treat as second-class fucking citizens. Just in general, women. They want to make sure that, women don't have birth. But all this, kind of boils down to an even bigger point, and that is what you take away birthright citizenship, who is American then? Who is a citizen? Like, truly answer that, because they don't even have the fucking real answer to it, or at least they're not putting it to paper. Let's just put it that way. Because ultimately, even if you are, fucking pasty-faced, a pasty-faced male, for instance, who's born in like Texas, but you grow up and you don't end up subscribing to the Bible thumping, good old boy, truck driving yee fucking bullshit that this government believes in. Oh, well, then you're not a citizen anymore. Granted, as a cis white male, you will probably have more privilege, but you probably will still be considered an enemy of this country. If you are a trans person, it won't matter what your fucking background is. They basically want you in one of the showers. And you know exactly what I mean by that. And like this, and let's not forget that, let's not forget the fact that, that this is also, that once the facade of Zionism comes crumbling down, who do you think they're going to go after as well with this whole birthright citizenship thing? Once that facade comes crashing down, this whole thing that they've tried to build up for years, in which they've tried to equate anti-Zionism with anti-feminism, and let's be real, essentially trying to equate Zionism with Judaism, that fucking bullshit lie. When Zionism no longer benefits the imperial core, or the dying imperial core, who are they going to blame? Who's going to then be victimized by this birthright citizenship thing? It's already happened before in history. In fact, several times in history, but very notably, one specific time in history. And while America, I feel, is really the people, that American fascists are really stupid and incompetent and stuff like that, it still doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of hatred and violence towards the Jewish community. And yeah. It's really just, yeah. I'm not even going to really say anything. I think Dark Synovia said it best there. This attempt to go after birthright citizenship is so stupid, because ultimately it's ultimately to ensure control. It's a pathetic attempt to try to ensure control, because it's not going to work. As Dark Synovia said back up there, if you strike down, birthright citizenship, it was going to disenfranchise 90 more people than you can imagine. And it's going to be, and you're going to cause a lot. It's going to cause a lot of a lot of violence that you are not prepared. That you were just simply not prepared for. And And when I say that you are not prepared for, I truly mean that even for us on the left. Because let's be honest, the American left is a joke. It's not prepared for something like this. Hell, American leftists can't even fucking, agree on what to fucking have for lunch without claiming that someone's a fucking revisionist or a reactionary. They can't fucking sit down and have a simple fucking discussion. So yeah, you think that they're, and I love that from a lot of these fucking first world leftists who think that who've been for years saying that the revolution's gonna happen. It's like it's gonna happen tomorrow. No, it's not. It hasn't. You've been saying that for what now? Decades now, and like post Occupy Wall Street, you've been saying it time and time and time again, and it still hasn't happened, and it's not fucking going to happen. Not until you actively start having, an educated population, which currently right now is going the opposite direction. You need the population educated. You need the population to actively be resisting by any means necessary. And by any means necessary, I mean by any means. Until you have those facets, until you have people angry enough to take up arms and actually start fighting for not only themselves but their friends, their neighbors, you're not going to have revolution. And this has been proven time and time again. This is why Marx was incorrect in his analysis that it would happen, that revolution would happen in the industrialized world. Well, that didn't happen. It was quite the opposite. It happened in the non-industrialized world, in Russia, in China, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Cuba. It did not happen in the first world because ultimately, at the end of the day, the first world working class, and by working class, I'm specifically talking about the industrialized workers. There's something I'll talk about at a later time on that, but when I talk about, the industrialized workers of the first world are more likely to tend towards reaction than they are towards revolution. The ones that are more likely to take up, that have more revolutionary potential are the peasant class. But here's the problem. The first world doesn't really have a peasant class anymore. And it really and to some extent, some parts of the third world, you're seeing it disappearing. I mean, can you even really say that China has much of a peasant class anymore? Korea does, or at least DPRK does. Vietnam kind of still does. But most of that revolutionary potential came from a peasant class. And it's one of those things where yeah. But yeah, most of that revolutionary potential came from a peasant class. And unfortunately, in the first world, we just don't have that anymore. We had that 100 years ago, but we don't have that anymore. We have a agricultural farmers, but we do not have in fact, if anything, your peasant class, if anything, is more of those your indigenous workers that are picking your fucking fruits and vegetables. You know, the ones that make up, what was it, a third, I think, of, you know, the agricultural sector. Yeah, that is basically your peasant class, pretty much. That is your new peasant class in the first world, is the people that are out there picking your avocados, your tomatoes, your lettuce. So, you know, yeah, that is the only, and those people still do, to some degree, are the ones that have the most revolutionary potential. The peasant class has always had the most revolutionary potential. The industrialized worker, however, can kind of doesn't really care as long as they get their goodies either way. So if they can still get their goodies under socialism, then yeah, of course they could be, you know, become revolutionaries. Of course they could be radicalized, essentially. But they don't real. But the industrialized worker can also be swayed towards reaction. They can be swayed to to take that 50, 80 cents, $1, maybe $2 more an hour, and be dissuaded from actually doing revolution. Perfect analogy. Thank you, Dark Synovia. Just trying to get a few of the comments in here. But yeah. And also, the closest to a peasant class in the first world is the homeless poor. And yeah, homeless poor and your agricultural workers, you're the ones that are picking your fruits and veggies. Yeah, that's what you have as a peasant class now in the first world. And those have more, and the lumpen have more, you know, are definitely always the one that have more revolutionary potential. They always have, they always will. Your industrialized worker, yeah, are basically your equivalent of a swing voter. But your lumpen homeless, your lumpen agricultural workers are the most likely to turn against the system. The industrialized worker, especially in the first world, is more inclined to just be swayed as long as they keep their goodies. Why do you think that the so-called democratic socialists of America are working so hard, you know, right now? Because they understand people are frustrated with America and with the capitalist system. But they don't actually want to get rid of that system. They want to, you know, regulate it. But we're going to regulate it by simping for the Democratic Party and even just outright caving to the same Democratic bullshit. So nothing ends up really getting done anyway. Which is kind of the perfect segue that I kind of wanted to talk about in this. Let me go ahead and share this. So spooky, scary socialist time, everybody. But also, for those of you, I also want to bring this one up. Hang on a second. Hang on. actually have to go back in there. But basically, Jason Unruh put out a video. This was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, where he did a video about how the DSA is not doing anything to help the cause. And I honestly don't even think it's relevant to play it here. I can probably just provide the link for it. That's why I'm kind of partially trying to find it right now. Let's say balanced. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. 7 years ago. He put it out 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link that in the. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the. And I'm going to link that here in the comments. There, for those of you that want to watch it. Jason put out that video almost 8 years ago, and it's amazing how fucking relevant, even though it was more of a rant, how fucking relevant that video still is. Because what have the DSA done since then? What have they kind of done at all over the last decade, 2 decades? They haven't really done shit, and they're doing the same bullshit again and again. They aren't doing anything to help the cause. In fact, they are actively hurting the cause. Because all these democratic socialists, which are just generic European social democrats, basically, all they're doing is doing concessions. They're doing essentially what Norway, Sweden, and to some extent Finland. Actually, Finland did do it as well, but it was specific to a lot of like Nordic and like Western European countries during the Cold War, because obviously you had the Warsaw Pact in Eastern Europe, who was trying to spread their sphere of influence. And to combat potential revolutionary potential, they were trying to do a lot of that. That was where a lot of these welfare programs came into, why they did a lot of these social democratic reforms, and concessions, so that they could stifle revolutionary potential, which is, by the way, a form of COINTELPRO, just so you know. And that is essentially what DSA is doing. So, people that are out there that are canvassing and, promoting and simping, because there's a lot of so-called leftists online that are doing this. And if you call yourself a leftist, if you really are a leftist, please fucking stop. Because the DSA, they are not your friends. They have never been your friends. They are not going to be the future revolutionary, potential that everybody thinks that they're not. They are at most a bunch of fucking European social democrats at best, and at worst, they are fucking fascists. In fact, I've even gone out so far to say that they aren't even social democrats. They are just generic social fascists. Yeah. So, yeah, spooky, scary socialist time. I'm going to share this video about how they just fucking caved. Like, as soon as they were winning all these elections, because you remember how how the DSA recently elected, 3 people to their Democratic primaries in New York, and now they've got 2 in Michigan or something like that. Yeah. Well, apparently they've already caved. Quite a few of them have. Abdul El Said being one of them. So yeah, let's go ahead and have a little chat.
Couple of primary elections last Tuesday in Michigan, and a couple of progressives, DSA aligned people got elected. What's been amazing to see is social democrats are literally backstabbing so fast. 0.001 second after they get elected, they immediately betray any of their principles. And so I want to talk about this guy. His name is Will Lawrence. So he is the co-founder of this nonprofit organization called Sunrise Movement. It's one of these climate progressive organizations. Before he was elected, he was endorsed by all these progressives. He was aligned with DSA, although DSA didn't directly endorse him. This is from an article from Fox. It says, but Lawrence does have backing from Representative Rashida Tlaib, his fellow Michigan Democrat and a prominent DSA member who stirred controversy for her comments about Israel. He was also endorsed by Bernie Sanders, a self-described democratic socialist, and the Sunrise Movement, which he co-founded in 2017, began as a youth-focused climate activist group that pushed for the Green New Deal alongside progressives in Congress. So he was basically aligned with DSA before his primary. That was his main selling point. I am a progressive. I am a DSA-aligned candidate. And so he wins his election, and then he goes on CNN. He immediately turns his back and backstabs the DSA. Social Democrats aren't even backstabbing Rosa Luxemburg anymore. They're just backstabbing each other.
The support of Bernie Sanders, but you're not running as a Democratic Socialist, but you were once a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. When did you leave that organization and what drove you away?
I love his little smile.
I let my membership lapse because I just want to make very clear that I'm here to represent the people of this district and focus on the issues that are bringing people together.
So when did you leave the Democratic Socialists of America?
It was within the last month I let my membership lapse.
Bro. 0.01 second after winning his primary.
Also, just, I don't really know that much, but also I think he was streaming earlier today. So, like, I'm gonna just say this: go give the guy a watch. If you want to. I can guarantee you, I probably do not agree with every single thing Spooky Scary Socialist says, but he is somebody that I have been keeping an eye on over the last 6 or so months, and who, while I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he is a third worldist himself, he seems to at least understand third worldist theory to some degree. I would say at least he has some tendencies. I think he has a ways to go, but I would just kind of as a little sidebar, he is somebody worth checking out. He is somebody that at least makes pretty good criticisms of the DSA and just of liberals, I think, in general. So, yeah. Just going to say that.
It was like, I am no longer a member of the DSA. I let my membership lapse 1 month ago. Oh my God. A record-breaking pace. This has got to be some sort of world record of social democratic backstab. They're not even backstabbing the communists. They're backstabbing the DSA, which is another social democratic organization. This is crazy.
And one of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus is Hakeem Jeffries. Have you spoken with him since you won? And do you plan to vote for him to be the next Speaker of the House?
I do plan to vote for him to be the next speaker.
And now he's saying he will support Hakeem Jeffries as Democratic Speaker. Keep in mind, Hakeem Jeffries, ultra mega Zionist, centrist Democrat. What are we doing here? This is a pattern, I will say. This is not just limited to Will Lawrence. Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, aren't even that radical. But a recurring pattern has been the failure of DSA to hold any of its electeds accountable to their own positions. And all these politicians that get elected because they're aligned with the DSA or because they're DSA members, they betray DSA the moment they are pushed even a little bit. So this is Francesca Hong, another DSA candidate in Wisconsin, when asked if she supports DSA's platform,
who is leading in all of the polls.
Just pausing this really quick, just because I know he's in here. Dark Synovia, apparently Caleb Maupin is currently on Revolutionary Change right now. I know he's been on it before, but he's on it right now, just so everybody kind of is aware of that. And in case people aren't really aware of Revolutionary Change, he's kind of known for having a lot of for platforming fascists. So, yeah. And Vinny, yes, he is. We're not going to speak on that today. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, I would just thought I would at least let people know that yeah, Revolutionary Change is live right now with Caleb Maupin. You know, Spanky McTanky, you know, of course.
Are attempting to stop you from winning, fearful that you cannot beat Republican Tom Tiffany. Just this weekend, the co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, which you are a member, reaffirmed the DSA's position of abolishing the Senate, prisons, and replacing the presidency and the Supreme Court as we know it. Do you fully back the DSA platform, and why should primary voters trust your judgment and your ability to win statewide?
Well, first, thank you so much to the team at WISN for hosting this important debate. I do not support the full platform of the national DSA, and I'm not endorsed by DSA National.
This DSA candidate, when asked if she supports the DSA platform, she folded immediately. Oh my God. They're just betraying each other so fast. Literally, this clip just came out today of AOC. AOC is doing the same thing where she's distancing herself from DSA.
Are you still a member of Democratic Socialists of America?
Of the New York City chapter.
The New York City chapter, not the national.
No.
Wait, that's not a thing. You can't be a member of a local DSA chapter, but not a member of the national.
Yeah, how does that fucking work? How are you still part of your local chapter, but you're not part of the overall chapter? That's not how it works. What the absolute fuck are you talking about, girl?
Organization. She is just straight up trying to distance herself from the more radical politics, quote unquote, of the national DSA. Bro, you can't even hold your own DSA politicians accountable to a platform of your own organization. Genuinely gobsmacking that these DSA politicians are denouncing DSA. Who knew that having an organization that cannot hold politicians accountable to their own platform would be such a massive problem? And of course, we have my favorite Dubai landlord, Abdul El Sayed. He is DSA adjacent. He's not actually a member of DSA. And when asked to clarify his position, he clarifies that he is in fact not a socialist.
If I can jump in, just what makes you different than a democratic socialist?
I am not somebody who is a socialist. I believe in capitalism. I just believe that capitalism has to be regulated. If you read Adam Smith, who was one of the fathers of capitalism as we know it, he always knew that the biggest danger to capitalism wasn't government regulation, it was monopoly. And we live in a society right now where too many monopolies and oligopolies can buy politicians to get their way.
The problem with capitalism is monopoly. Dude, that's what capitalism naturally leads to. Read Lenin's imperialism, bro. So nonsensical. Capitalism is mom and pop shops. But anyway, it is really funny to see DSAers go to bat so hard for Abdul El Sayed. And bro isn't even a socialist. He's not even a member of DSA. Abdul did get elected last Tuesday. He barely beat off AIPAC stooge Haley Stevens. I see Israel in my dreams, Haley Stevens.
Israel comes to me in my dreams. I see Israel's future.
But it was a mixed day for Abdul El Sayed because sadly, Dubai did get bombarded on the same night he won his election. So mixed results for Abdul. Hopefully his UAE property in Dubai is doing well. I'm praying that my landlord is going to be safe.
So yeah, that was one of them. And I am, by the way, Sub Monkey, I am trying to work right now to just see what's going on. Why the fuck you were being timed out or something like that, why you were being labeled as spam. Because I'm doing this off of StreamYard, so it's not really showing me that. I don't think it's really showing that to me there. But yeah, which is weird because you are an approved user. You're one of my showing up as being one of the top commenters right now in the on the YouTube chat. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, man. I think it's honestly YouTube trying to fuck with shit. Anyways, so that was one of them, and then the other thing was apparently they apparently there's also now this thing going on by the right wing that apparently now Zoran Mamdani is now apparently a third worldist. And the funny part, before I even get into this at all, let me just kind of point out the fact that Dark Snovia had actually, I think you had actually commented on this video before I even shared it, before I even made any mention of it. You commented on it in the morning when it went live. I found it later that afternoon, and then I commented and I shared it around, and then and then Jason came into the chat and literally said, responded to this saying saying he is not a third worldist, he is not a fucking third worldist. Don't make me destroy people. An absolute old school Jason, that's the Jason that we all know and love, man. The reason for it was because Jason got a casual mention by Spooky Scary Socialist in here about 2.5 minutes in, I believe it is. So you'll see what I mean. Here we go.
Third worldism has officially escaped containment. There's this thing in conservative circles where they highlight a new boogeyman buzzword. They've done this every couple cycles. I think the last one was critical race theory, which was this very obscure academic term that somehow became the catch-all for everything bad. And third worldism is now what the conservative world has picked up on. You can see this conservative guy right here, Chris Rufo. For months, this person and I have been pressing the idea that the left is moving from woke to third worldism, that is, from symbolic politics to material politics. Yes, we ruined the reputation of woke, but third worldism is a more serious threat to life, liberty, and property. And then you had, more significantly, this report that came out a few weeks ago, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio was saying for more than 6 decades, the Cuban regime has been the leading sponsor of radical leftism and third worldism in the United States. And Ben Shapiro talking about the radical third world invasion of the Democratic Party. Almost all of these guys right here, Rubio, Rufo, Ben Shapiro, all of them cast social democrats, specifically Zoran Mamdani, as quote-unquote third worldists who believe.
Just, by the way, just so you know, yeah, Rubio, Rufo, Shapiro, all dumbos.
Believe in the destruction of the United States. And that is just a completely bonkers analysis. I don't even know what to say here. Social democrats, if anything, they're opposite of third worldists. They believe in redistributing the spoils of imperialism to benefit the working class and the population of the first world. If anything, that's the opposite of third worldism. These are not people who believe in destroying the global system of imperialism, of imperial core and periphery, but instead of redistributing the spoils of imperialism to benefit the first world. The only reason they're calling Zoran and Ilhan Omar as third worldists, let's be so real, guys, it's racism. It really is racism. And as someone who's actually read Settlers by Jay Sakai, they are assigning stolen valor to these SOCDEMs. Jason Unruh, please save us. The conservatives have become brain dead, and they're blaming any brown person saying anything to the left of Reagan as third worldism. This is a clip from the Washington Post podcast, The Origin of Zoran Mamdani's Ideology. So let's see what the Washington Post has to say about Zoran Mamdani's quote-unquote third worldism.
The language that Zoran Mamdani was using came from a very specific tradition. Mm-hmm. It's not 100% communist and it's not 100% Islamist. There's a middle, is what I mentioned as third worldism.
This is mind-boggling. Really, third worldism is the middle ground between Islamism and communism? How is this on the mainstream media?
Yeah, basically third worldism is just the new tanky at this point by a lot of these people. Like anything that is further radical than your own generic like your own brand of like centrism and or just outright fascism, like anything beyond further than that is now apparently third worldism. Just like anything further to the left of performative activism is apparently being a tanky. So yeah.
This is the most incoherent ideological analysis,
which is a political and ideological framework through which one divides the world into two groups.
This is not third worldism, okay? This is just basic world systems theory. And world systems theory isn't confined to third worldism. World systems theory is very much used in sociological methods and analysis of the world.
What is the core emotion that drives that train of thought? Like, is that guilt?
I think it's one of them, but there's also sometimes a revanchist sentiment. There's also sometimes just a pure hatred for the country.
Really? You're saying Zoran Mamdani is on the side of the global oppressed and that he hates the country? Bro is a social democrat. He believes in treats for New Yorkers. He quite literally has clips where he's eating ice cream and going on go-karts around New York City. He quite literally is the treatler mayor. He hates the country. Like, no, he is a social democrat who believes in treats for the first world. This idea that he's somehow a radical third worldist who stands up for the global oppressed. Hello, have we forgotten that he's thrown Palestine under the bus?
Is it fair to say that third worldism is an extension of cultural Marxism?
Yes.
Bruh. Is it fair to say third worldism is an extension of insert Nazi conspiracy theory right here? Huh? What? I'm genuinely confused. Cultural Marxism, they're not even doing the thing where they're talking about the Frankfurt School and flirting around the idea. They just straight up say cultural Marxism. You know, the anti-Semitic Nazi theory that communists and Jews were somehow destroying Western culture.
Extension of cultural Marxism?
Yes, it is. It is.
And it's in our culture. It has trickled down.
Trickle down cultural Marxism. Oh my god. What is even going on? Zoran?
Just, yeah, because... no problem. Take care, Comrade Net. Red salute. Yeah, no, what I was going to say, just, trickle down Marxism. Just like, what is this? Marxism, Leninism, Reaganism? What the fuck? You know what? I shouldn't say that because you know that there's a bunch of stupid idiots like Caleb Maupin or Hawes that probably subscribe to some stupid form of like that. Just Jesus fucking Christ. I'm halfway tempted, by the way, to just scroll over to the Caleb Maupin Revolutionary Change live stream just so we could laugh at it together.
Mamdani is now a third worldist who believes in trickle-down cultural Marxism. Can we talk about this guy's outfit? It's so distracting. What is up with this guy's glasses? Why is it so orange? Are those prescription? I assume they're not prescription. I assume they're decorative. But in that case, what's even the point? He doesn't look smarter. He looks ridiculous. He looks like an anime character.
You see the oppressor-oppressed landscape applied to landlords. So there's this very binary, dumbed-down perspective of the world. Like, owners, bad. People who are renters, let's call it the broader working class, working poor, they are...
Third worldism is now when you believe in an oppressor and an oppressed. This is what conservatives and right-wingers think third worldism is. It's when you divide the world between good and bad. And somehow, first world renters who live in rent-stabilized apartments in New York City are part of the global oppressed class. Third worldism straight up has lost all its meaning now. We are now calling Zoran Mamdani and all these social democrats...
It's so fucking stupid. Like, it shouldn't even be said that Mamdani and the DSA, they're not third worldists. In fact, I'd argue that if you literally are part of the DSA or simping for the DSA, you're not a third worldist. In fact, I'd even make the argument you could technically be an ML or a Maoist, MLM. But you cannot be a third worldist and be part of the DSA. You simply cannot. That is a contradiction. In fact, to even say that you can be a Maoist and be part of the DSA is kind of honestly stretching it quite a bit. But if you are like still a first worldist, an MLM, I guess I can get it because because usually MLM, you haven't quite made the jump to third worldist theory yet, or you just reject it outright. But, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I believe it. Trust me, I've played HOI 4, so I believe it. But there's also like a femboy mod apparently with that. Anyway, Just saying. I know of that. I've never tried it, but I actually have watched somebody play the Femboy mod before. And yes, it's about as cursed as you'd think it would be. But yeah, I can make the argument that that you can be a Maoist, an MLM, or just a generic ML. In fact, most people that are probably in the DS, in fact, there's probably a lot of people in the DSA that are generic MLs or trots or whatever. But you cannot be a Maoist third worldist and be DSA. You simply cannot. And if you claim that you are, then you kind of need, I hate to be this person, but pick a fucking struggle. And preferably by resigning from the DSA and actually like fighting for something that actually is going to, bring about some sort of change in this world. But anyway, I'm going to just start this from the beginning here, just because I am curious. So yeah, apparently revolutionary change. I'm going to just mute them for a second. But yeah, apparently they have Caleb Maupin on here. I'm just going to scooch. Guess he hasn't appeared. He just got on there, apparently. Is this where he shows up? Yep, this is about where he shows up. Yeah, he just got on there. Gonna scroll a little bit. There he is. There's the fucking sex
Caleb,
pest.
you came on this evening, obviously, because you do have this big event that's coming up this weekend. So let's get it right out of the way. Finish the American Revolution, end the British Empire system and its wars. Center for Political Innovation National Convention in Chicago, August 15th.
Chicago.
9 a.m. Floor is yours, brother. Tell us.
Under the sauce.
Well, right now I'm in an Airbnb with our team from around the country that's assembled to put on the convention.
Oh, what are you doing in the Airbnb, Caleb? Are you trying to get another one of your members, forcing another one of your members into prostitution? Are you over there assaulting one of your members? Again, fucking Spanky McTanky here.
On Saturday. And we're going to have a beautiful event. Doors open at 9 a.m. You can go register on our website if you'd like to attend. It's going to be great. But tomorrow, we're actually headed to a couple key sites in Chicago. We're going to be protesting France out of Africa at the French consulate around 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, raising the issue of Ukraine's involvement in attacking the people in West Africa, the Union of Sahel States as well. That's going to be good. We've got some other demonstrations planned, and the whole day on Saturday is going to be about building a movement. That's what we need. I'm really glad you brought me in by talking about building a movement beyond electoral politics.
Yeah, what fucking movement are you building except a fucking movement of reactionism? Like fucking. This is the guy that, like, quite literally was, out there calling people, maybe not me personally, but he was out there calling trans people and gay people degenerates while he is out there engaging in predatory behavior. So yeah, and keep in mind, none of these people are working class at all.
Country has ever needed an anti-war movement, it's right now. The crazy thing, so this image that we used to promote it, that is an image from July 4th, 1976 at the Bicentennial. in Philadelphia. They had a big patriotic celebration with President Gerald Ford, and thousands of people gathered, and those were Vietnam veterans marching behind this banner, "We won't fight another rich man's war," July 4th, 1976.
Yada, yada, yada.
And we've been promoting this image of the movement. Weeks ago, Marco Rubio published this State Department document, I don't know if you saw it, about Cuban influence in America. And it listed all kinds of groups he said were linked to Cuba.
Oh my God, bro. You're literally fucking out here doing regurgitating Gusano fucking rhetoric. Anti-commie. I knew it would not take long as soon as he was on to start into something. You're over here quoting Marco Rubio, a fucking Gusano who has like a hate boner for the Cuban regime. And this is the guy whose CPI is supposed to be that, this whole, thing for like this revolutionary, form of like, what was it? American Leninism or whatever it was a few years ago. One of these people that, that was behind this whole, patriotic socialist movement. Like, no. You're a fucking fascist. Yeah, Caleb Maupin has delusions of grandeur. None of the people in his circle ever build a movement. Yeah, the only movement he's building is a sex cult. That's about it. He also made some fucking video a few weeks back where he was saying that, Jason Unruh was best at when he took on the serfs. And I'm like, Jason Unruh has been at his best has been at his best like within the last like couple of years. What the fuck are you talking about? He's still relevant. He's still making like really good fucking content and like actually, trying to educate people on actual fucking revolutionary theory, while you, Caleb, are out here fucking engaging in fascist COINTELPRO bullshit. Not even COINTELPRO, just outright reactionary bullshit. But yeah, you supposedly, I just wanted to play a little clip of him being on there. But yeah, he's on Revolution. They're live right now. Like, while this is live, they're actually live right now talking to this cunt, this fucking, I'm going to call him a cunt. Because he is. He's a fucking, Thomas Massey and MTG have a chance of building a movement in success that's more successful in getting off the ground than Caleb Maupin. Like, seriously, he's a fucking he really is a fucking pathetic loser and a nobody. He really is. And this is a guy who's out here calling people like me degenerates for being trans. Yet you're engaging in predatory sexual behavior and forcing your female members essentially into prostitution. Just, yeah, man. There's a reason why Jason Unruh told you to go fuck yourself, and there's kind of a reason why nobody sees you as being a revolutionary or being a socialist. Yeah, like, we see through you, Caleb. And like, it's amazing how in 2026 I'm still have to address this cunt, because I wasn't really there. I will admit this. I wasn't really like there when the whole Maupin thing was taking place. I think I kind of like got back into the fold like right as it was kind of wrapping up, and I kind of was just but I knew well enough to know what was going on. Because I came back to YouTube in December 2021 And I think the fallout was kind of reaching its peak, I think, in about 2022. But I just know that I know enough from what what happened at the time, and since then from talking to Dark Synovia and to Comrade Net and to Jason Unruh, I know I have the picture. And yeah, I would agree. The biggest mistake that was ever made was bringing this guy. I mean, there's other people I think that we shouldn't have ever been involved, but Caleb was definitely one of them. There's other people I'm not going to mention it right now because they're not relevant. But that Caleb Maupin, yeah, last day before the fallout, if you were to listen to it, he doesn't sound like a serious person. He sounds like one of those crazy tech bros from Silicon Valley. Yeah. And I'm going to release the playlist publicly soon because I have been compiling quite a lot of Jason's old videos, but there's a lot of the old Maupin stuff that was in there. On that debate, yeah. Oh yeah, you mean is that the one where he was muting Jason like a fucking coward? I was rewatching that. Holy fucking shit! And people can quite literally go to that too. If you look up Jason Unruh, Caleb Maupin debate, and you go to Jason's channel, his is literally his video is entitled the muting coward version or something like that. Because Caleb, okay, yeah, no, it was when Caleb was talking about getting off planet Earth and how he can mine asteroids. Okay, Jesus. Yeah, no, I do remember the one where he just, because Jason was clearly winning the argument in that debate. The one about the one where Caleb muted him. Jason was very clearly winning that debate, and Caleb just couldn't handle it, so he started muting him. And granted, yeah, there was a lot of talking over each other, sure, but Jason was making his criticisms quite clear and was making a fair point. And I remember that because it was one of the more popular ones that went viral in amongst the left, because even people like Vosh, and I think there was a few others that were talking about it too. But yeah, Vosh was one of them. I know that was fucking talking about it. Yeah, I lost all respect for Caleb, considering the fact that he was talking like a crazy. Yeah, and he still does. He still fucking does. Oh yeah. I don't know if Dark Synovia or anybody watching this knows. Yeah, he's leaving the U.S. He's moving to the Netherlands. The guy that's really into apparently got caught with the lolly stuff and the horse stuff is moving to a country where the legal age of consent is 16. No reason I brought that up at all. This is also the same. Yeah, I know, but it's I feel the need sometimes to just bring these names up. Take these names off the shelf every once in a while, dust them off, and throw them out there, give them a little spin. Yeah. I think, honestly, you answered your own question at the end there, Dark Synovia, because he's well-read and he easily manipulates people. And yeah, Americans aren't anything special. They're a fucking white settler colonizer country. Something that, Caleb Maupin refuses, I think, to acknowledge, because, he is a white settler colonizer, and he speaks like a white settler colonizer. He speaks like a typical white middle class, privileged cis man. Let's be real. But yeah, to address the Vosh thing, I pretend to think it was short stack goblins. Yeah, I remember that. He was trying to make it was just short stack goblins with big boobs. It's like, what does that matter? You're still like a pervert. You're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, no kink shaming or anything, but there are some things I feel like at some point you need to kind of draw the line at. And Lolly is one of them. And the horse stuff is another one of those things, I get there are furries out there and all that sort of shit, but like, Jesus fucking Christ. But I think even Spooky Scary Socialist did a video about that where he was saying that I think one of the comments was like, I hope that he and his partner have a very make a very stable home because of the horse shit, I mean, not that he's already not full of horse shit, but yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not even going to ask Vosh or Maupin. Both. Easily both. But Vosh is also the type of fucking numbskull that also like made a lot of criticisms about Jason that were, and and Vosh was also, I think he like criticized Hakeem or something for some reason, saying that because Hakeem was Arab, Iraqi or something like that, that for some reason that, he doesn't get to really have an opinion about American politics because you're not really from here, or, because Hakeem moved to another country. I don't remember it's like, well, bro, you're now moving to the Netherlands, so maybe now's the time for you to shut the fuck up about American politics then. Because you're no longer going to live here. What do you care? It's not affecting you anymore. But it certainly is affecting people like Dark Sinovia, who is lumpen. I have great respect for him and the lumpen. People, I have to still fucking deal with this country as a trans woman. But him as a cis white male, he doesn't have to worry about that shit. Fucking with his privileged ass. I mean, great for you for having the privilege to be able to move up out of say hello to my neighbor, everybody. But yeah, people like fucking Vosh, who used to live in like, what was it, LA or whatever it was in California, and then he moved to Tacoma, Washington, to yet another area where because what America. Now, I get that. I get this. But I'm just saying that what I'm saying is I'm calling out Vosh's hypocrisy, because he basically is trying to say that Hakeem, being Arab and from another country, doesn't have a right to say to talk about American politics. Well, if that's the case, then Vosh at this point doesn't have a right to talk about it. I'm basically I'm kind of calling Vosh on his hypocrisy there. But yeah, just this man has so much privilege to live in some of the most expensive places in the country. I mean, I wouldn't say Tacoma is the most expensive, but it is in the Seattle metro. So yeah. And then you're going to go live in the Netherlands. Like, great. Glad you have the fucking money to do that, dude. A lot of us don't have that fucking privilege. But yeah. And then there's just, fucking people like, and you know what? Since I'm already picking fights with people that have already picked fights with Jason in the fact, I'm going to talk more about this in the future, just so people know. But I'm going to bring up Anarcho Pack, aka Anarcho Zoe, aka Zoe Baker, because of the fact that this bitch and her fucking audience has been a royal pain in our side for some time now, and it's just one of those things where, yeah, I just, the amount of damage that she has caused to Jason over the last decade, like, here's the thing. This is the nature of the internet, and why I hate it so fucking much is because people hear something that somebody says 10, 15 years ago, and then they think that that is their current take on things. It's not. They think for some reason that the information that they had at the time is the same information that they have now, when it's not. And like, there's a lot of things that we could say, about, there's probably some things that we could say about Jason and some of his takes back then, because like, I will admit, he was slightly misinformed. But when he is actively trying to ask questions, to be a better ally, to be a better communist, to be a better friend to some people, like, it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it's like, those are the questions you are supposed to ask as a cis person. So when you, as a trans person or a audience of that said trans person, start criticizing somebody because they are just simply asking questions, that you are not helping us as trans people. You are actually causing further damage by doing that, because you are turning people away who are just simply trying to learn. And there's a lot I'm going to say in the future about her, but I'm just going to kind of personally just kind of say this, that since I've come out and come back to YouTube in 2021, I have advised Jason on numerous occasions in relation to trans-related issues when it necessitated it. The 2023 Nashville shooting, he actually platformed me on his channel because I spoke about that before he did, because he wanted a trans voice to speak on it first, which I greatly respect, and frankly, he should. I also spoke on the Annuncion shooting, and he also had, I advised him on a lot of things. So, case in point, if anybody still from Zoe Baker's community, if any trans people in general have a problem with anything that Jason Unruh has said in the last, I'd say, 5 years, in relation to trans people, blame it on me then, because I'm the one that has advised him on a lot of shit. I'm the one that tries to make sure that he has the right information. So, yeah, if he's quote unquote transphobic for something that you've misconstrued, one, that sounds like a fucking you problem, and two, take it up with me, because take it up with the queer trans woman who literally is giving him this information. And I know people are from that community are going to try to say I have internalized transphobia or some bullshit, because that's what I got a few years ago when I was defending him then. But it's just like, no, he's not. I've literally done a video about that, and I will continue to defend LaRue. I will, because quite frankly, people like Anarcho-Pac need to be brought down a peg. Not that she's really that relevant anymore, because it seems like she doesn't really do anything that often. And like she's got really shitty takes when it comes down to Marxism. And like, you call yourself an anarchist, but you're called Anarcho-Pac and Anarcho-Pacifist. You cannot be a fucking anarchist and a pacifist at the same fucking time. That's a contradiction. If you are an anarchist, you are for revolution. Therefore, that means that you are going to engage in, by any means necessary, action. You cannot be a pacifist and be an anarchist. I'm sorry, you cannot. That is a contradiction. Pick a fucking struggle. You're either a fucking, a fucking liberal, or, because that's what a pacifist is. They're a fucking liberal. You're either a liberal or you're an anarchist. Pick a struggle. And if you can't, then get the fuck out of the way. Because you are basically at that point engaging in what could be argued as COINTELPRO. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they hate us because they ain't us. Yeah. Yeah, Jason haters are those that actually have done nothing, that have never done anything significant, who have never risked anything, while Jason has risked physical and mental health. Exactly. Are the part of the, yeah, and yeah, his haters are usually very privileged white people. But yeah, I have to at least make those criticisms known right now. I'm going to let you know right now, I'm going to be far fucking harsher about Zoe Baker in the future. Just kind of a hint for everybody watching. I will be going harsher on her in the future. And I can say that because I am a queer trans woman. And quite frankly, yeah, I really do not give a shit, what her and her audience think of Jason or think of me, because yeah, he's not a phobe of any kind. Literally, I've literal video titled that. And so yeah, if you have a problem with him, you got a problem with me. So, like, there is quite literally I'm going to do a whole thing on her in the future. It won't probably be out for a while, but just note that I am planning on roasting this bitch. She has been allowed to get away with this for far too long, and as a queer trans woman, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I'm not. I'm done. So, yeah. Do I have to say anything more? Yeah, there's a lot more I could say, but I'm going to wait for the proper time to say it, because I'm not the only one who has these feelings about her. She is literally a fucking... All right, later, Logan. I'm probably going to be ending this pretty soon anyway. But one thing I would like to at least get out about Zoe is this. She likes to throw around the transphobia card. And the problem is, in the process of doing that, she is really she is only kind of making it worse for trans people, not better, by doing so. She silences lumpen trans voices. She is literally engaging. She put out something back in March when the war with Iran started, where she was pretty much tantamount. She was pretty much clapping for the invasion because she wanted the removal, of the evil Iranian regime. And it's like, you are literally doing pink imperialism. You are literally engaging in pink imperialism. Like, do we as Marxists like the Islamic Republic of Iran? Like, do we actually like the regime? No. We didn't like the Assad regime or necessarily either, or technically even the Gaddafi regime in its entirely. But it's called critical support for a reason. Because while we can have many criticisms about the regime, we are still opposed to Western imperialism. We are still opposed. We still believe in their right to exist. So when you are denying their right to exist and you are engaging, and you are basically engaging with, in cahoots with the Western imperialist, you, as a queer or trans person, you are literally doing fucking pink imperialism. So yeah, she's a fucking Islamophobe. She's a racist, and I'm going to be real. I'm going to just call it. I think she's a cisphobe. I think, and I think she's a misandrist. Yeah. She's not, she doesn't understand third worldism. That's for damn sure. She's definitely a fucking first world, middle class fucking white. Yeah. There's a lot of things I could say about her, but again, I'm going to just probably leave it at that for right now. Because there's a lot more I'm going to say. I am planning to roast this woman over the coals. I'm done. I'm done with letting her get away with it. And because nobody else is man, woman, anywhere in between enough to stand up to her, I'm going to do it. But there is a time and place for it. So all I can say is stay tuned for that. But as far as everything else goes, I think that is all I really wanted to really kind of talk about for now. So, that's funny. Thank you, Vinny. But yeah, but I'm not the only one that thinks a lot of these things. A lot of lumpen trans women have a lot of problems with her. And yeah, she just rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and she needs to finally be called out on her bullshit. And I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to probably get some response. I'm definitely going to get a response from her community. And there might be a slight chance she might actually respond herself to me, but I highly doubt it. Kind of like I highly doubt she's going to debating me in anything. I will openly debate her. I have no problem with that. But she's not gonna do that, and she's not gonna respond to me because she's a coward. She's the one. She never even, when the shit was going on, when every so often when her community does try to stir up some bullshit about Jason, she never engages directly. She always sends her audience, kind of like Parkrose did. She sends her audience to do her dirty work. Zoe never engages directly. She, in fact, when I have tried to confront her directly by tagging her or whatever it is, she's always just blocked me. So she's aware I exist. She knows who I am. She just does not want to engage a fellow trans woman, a queer trans woman, in any sort of confrontation because she knows she will lose. So, yeah, I don't give a fuck what her, her dipshit little cronies, her little simps, I don't give a shit what they have to say. I don't give a shit what she really has to say, to be quite honest with you. Not to be smug, but it really does kind of come down to, they hate me because I come correct. And that's exactly why she also hates Jason. She hates him because he comes correct. And now, because, and you notice too, they have been a lot more quieter over the last few years, ever since I have been a lot more since I have been closer to Jason. It's almost like they're afraid of me, or at least she's afraid of me. And good. You should be, Zoe. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm done talking about this bitch. But it has been fun being with you guys for, God, almost for 2.5 hours now. But yeah, more to come on a lot of on some of these things. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to kind of talk about just the stupidity of these social democrats and the DSA. I wanted to bring up that thing about the indigenous people and just how they're being treated and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. And one more thing I will say about the Zoe thing before I go. I am going to say some things in the future I'm going to just warn people now that are going to be controversial, just so you know. So just letting my trans and non-binary people know right now, I might say some things that might come off a little controversial, but understand where I'm coming from and that it's not coming from a place of internalized transphobia. It's not just coming from me. It is coming from a lot of other people, a lot of lumpen trans women, especially. So, but I'm not going to reveal too much right now because it is a work in progress. Just know I'm going to war and I am going to win. With that all finally said, thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I'm Red Pagan Nicole for the Red Pagan Network. Signing off. See you next time.